One of our homework topics asks us to find the root of a quadratic equation. And I didn't write it here, but it asks us to find a root when a does not equal 1. And when we say a does not equal 1, what we're looking at is this. This is our a. In this case, a is equal to 5. All right, so in other words, let's put a game plan here. What we are going to do is we are going to factor this quadratic, and then we're going to take each one of those factors and set them equal to, so I can maybe put, we're going to set the factors equal to 0. The hard part here for students is part 1, the factoring part, okay? Factoring is always difficult, and it's one of those things where it's kind of hard to learn, but once we get it, we have it. And there's different methods that we can use to factor, and what I like to use is what I refer to as the star method. But I think if you look on Alex, it actually teaches it a different way. So that we don't have confusion, what I would do is I will use the method that Alex uses. So what we're looking for here is we want to rewrite this trinomial, meaning, we have these 3 pieces here. We want to rewrite this trinomial so that I have 4 parts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this 5u squared down, and I can bring this plus 3 down. And what we're looking for is this middle part here. Let me highlight this. What we want to do is we want to break that 8u up in some form or fashion. And there's a particular way we want to do that. What we want to do is, and this is what we do when we have an a that is not equal to 1. What we look at is our a and our c. We have 5 and 3, and we want to multiply that 5 times 3. 5 times 3 gives us 15. So what I do is I go to the side and I begin to write all of my factors of 15. 1 times 15 gives me 15, and 3 times 5 gives me 15, right? And so what we're looking for are 2 factors within that list, and maybe I should write this down. Look for, so what we are looking for, we are looking for 2 factors that multiply to give what we have up there, 5 times 3, or let's just say 15, and they must add to give us that middle term, which is 8 or 8u, right? So we're looking for 2 numbers in this that will add to give me 8, and what I see is 5 and 3. So what I would do is I would rewrite this as plus 3u plus 5u, and we understand that 3u and 5u gives us 8u. And once we do that, now what we want to do is factor, and I could put up here by grouping. That's what we're going to do, factor, and then we have to use by grouping. So what that means is I'm going to group this together, the first 2 terms, and then I will group the second 2 terms together. And all of this is a type of factoring. So I could put here that this we are factoring by grouping. And then once we factor by grouping, while we are factoring by grouping, what we have to do is factor out our greatest common factor. And what I see here, in my first set of parentheses, both of my terms have a u. So my greatest common factor there would be a u. So I'm going to factor out that u, and that would leave me with 5u plus 3. Now in this second set of parentheses, there is no greatest common factor. There's nothing that both of those terms are divisible by other than 1. So what I'm going to do is, just to solidify this idea, I can put a 1 here. I wouldn't typically do that, but I want you guys to see what happens here. Now, what happens if you factor by grouping correctly, these two set of parentheses should have the same terms in them. And so that is one of our factors. And what happens then is that our other factor comes from what we have on the outside. And so in that case, what we have left now is u plus 1, and we're going to set that equal to 0. So all of that is factoring. All of this is step 1. Step 2, you take those factors, each of those terms that are in parentheses, and you set those equal to 0, and you solve for u in this case. So here I would bring that 3 over, so that gives me 5u is equal to -3. Divide both sides by 5, and I have here that u is equal to a -5/3. And for this other factor, I bring that 1 over. It's just a one-step equation, and that leaves me with u is equal to -1. So that is it. That is how we solve or find the roots of a quadratic equation when a is not equal